and welcome back to another episode of
And on that note,
well, leading onto another topic, Black people need to start coming out and promoting each other's businesses. We need to start buying from Black-owned businesses. We need to want to do more with ourselves and for ourselves, not just working for the Oyinbo men. If I say Oyinbo men, it sounds better than the other word.
But don't say the white man. It's very related to this topic.
Yeah. I just want, honestly, I just want to see Black people win.
Yeah.
And
more than ever.
That's what I want. I just literally want to see.
But I think we all need to have that mindset though, like that mind frame, because a lot of Black people are in too much of a competition with each other as well. It's like, I'll support just as long as you're not doing better than me, or just as long as you're not doing better than us. Or, if I promote your picture today, I don't need to do it for the next 10 years because I did it. Do you not remember back in February 1st, 1967, when I promoted your, we need to do better together.
Yeah. I got really upset the other day. Like, I was looking at something on the blogs, the UK, I think it was the Shade Borough, and they were just talking about like two Black British women, like singers or rappers, whatever you call them. What do they even call themselves? Singers, yeah. Arguing over something so stupid. And you know what? I hate commenting on these things, and I had to comment. I was like, what happened to Black Lives Matter? This is the reason why they say
this is
Black
recent.
on Black crime. Because look at us. In the midst of a pandemic, we're fighting each other over something so stupid, over something so minuscule. You're fighting over, you copied my hairstyle. My hairstyle is short. Who copied
that way it was?
In fact, everybody copied everybody.
Is that what it was, George? Over here?
Yeah, it was over here. Something so ridiculous. I'm like, bruv, we're fighting a real pandemic here, racism. That's the pandemic that we're meant to be fighting. But yet you're fighting each other. And I was so,
overbought hair as well. Hair that doesn't even belong on their head.
I was so disappointed because I thought to myself, you know what? I feel like at the moment with the whole Black Lives Matter, and not even just beyond the Black Lives Matter, just with people now being unapologetic and sharing their experiences as to what they've experienced again, I'm not saying America, but in the UK, and most importantly in London, because like I always say, they're always saying that London's multicultural, is diverse, is this, is that. We don't have racism here. There's no discrimination here. They always want to play that card. But actually, a lot of people have experienced it here, and so I felt so happy that a lot more people are not being scared anymore, and they're talking about it a lot more freely because they want to make it known that actually this stuff is happening. Then to see something so stupid with people arguing over such stupid thing, I was just like, come on, we're letting ourselves down. And we're giving these people ammunition to say, look at them. They are now fighting each other again. They're now doing this again. They can't even be united. They can't be one.
And that's why sometimes we just look like a laughing stock. Because, like you said, we're fighting a pandemic of racism, and this is what people have decided to do. It's just like shame on us.
Disappointing.
Yeah, it's very disappointing.
Yeah, it was disappointing. But I think for the most part of it, I think, I'm all here for this movement. And I keep on saying, I do not want this to be a phase. I don't want it to be a phase. I don't want to, I personally, no matter how small my platform is, I can have influence in one way or another. And I'm not going to stop talking about it. I don't care. Yeah. I'm not going to stop
even
talking about it.
Even if it reaches one person,
you've
done your job. Even if it's just one person, you've done enough.
Yeah.
I guess for me though, on the topic of like Black businesses and stuff, I do get frustrated with like, the Black businesses that I've experienced. Like not all of them, but there are instances where, and let me put a disclaimer, because there's bad business owners of every color, of every creed, of every type. But sometimes I do get frustrated when you're bringing your custom to a Black business owner, and they're just not good, and it does help. It does deflate you because you're just like, I've gone out of my way. Yeah, I've come to intentionally just make sure that I keep that wealth. Yeah, sometimes I just feel like Black people do disappoint me, the ones I've encountered. And I'm talking about the ones that, you know, they're clearly trying to be entrepreneurial, they're trying to do things. And sometimes you just think like, you know, there is a way to do things. And I think there's literally only one example that's come into my mind. And there was an example of getting a photographer. And I think even in that time when you were trying to explain to the person why what they had done or why the way they were going about their business was basically fundamentally wrong. And, you know, they just didn't want to hear it. And I think sometimes I'm like, mate, I'm your sister. Like, I'm not going to steer you wrong. Respect me, but also see that I'm not the person to necessarily.
I'm not your option.
Down.
Yeah, don't cheat me, because I will recommend you to this person and this person and this person. But if you decide that, oh, you're going to not do right by me, it's going to hurt all of us. Like see the bigger picture. And I think sometimes that frustrates me when there's that short-sightedness. But don't get me wrong, it's not everywhere. But I do feel like, you know, I think, and we all know the kind of Jamaican, Caribbean food shop example. But it's just kind of like, you know, we all make jokes about it, we have fun about it, we poke comedy at it, like, and stuff like that. Like it's funny and stuff. But it's a bit of comedy, but it's like there is an underlying tone of they're rude though.
Yeah. They're rude.
Yeah, like, and it's one of them. But why? I will like literally before this whole COVID thing. The thing happened to me, and I couldn't help but stand there and laugh, because I was like, why are you guys like this? Like, do you not know we actually all crack joke about this, and you're not even trying to change your behavior? Like, I went into the shop, bruv, there's no menu. Yeah, there's no menu. So obviously, I'm gonna come in and ask like, what go? Because I know I could easily say, can I have this? And what they're gonna say, it's finished. So I'm asking you what you have, and you're looking at me as like, why are you asking me these questions? And then I remember thinking, hey, one day's never.
But if you had a menu, I wouldn't have to ask you.
Ask you the damn questions.
It was just a crazy situation. And stuff like that makes you just say, but anyway, I digress.
Oh, my eyes.
Jules, what you're eating was nice though. What is that?
What is it?
It's ice cream, isn't it?
No, it's not. I'm eating potatoes.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
what's that mash?
It's it's pronounced. It's like similar to Daphne's name.
Dauphinoise.
Oh, dauphinoise potatoes.
She said it's pronounced.
And you knew
it's similar to Daphne's name.
You knew straight away. You were like, "Yo, dauphinoise," and like I was just there like Daphne potatoes.
Yeah, that.
Oh, I like dauphinoise potatoes.
Oh my gosh,
All right. So anyway, Marcus Rashford and that. What do you guys think about his campaign to ensure that kids got free school meals?
I think it's amazing.
Summer holiday.
Go.
I think
it's amazing.
He's
using his platform for something so beneficial. And you know, like there's this saying that, like they say, we could literally banish what is it? Not homelessness. Poverty.
Hunger.
The hunger, poverty. Like if all the rich people put their money together to do so, we could banish it. And it just goes to show, I know he's not, you know, it's not poverty, but he's ensuring that those who are probably less fortunate and those who would most likely go without, do not go without. And that's one person doing that. So if everyone put their heads together to try and do this, it's amazing what could actually happen. So I think he's doing amazingly well. It's a positive thing that he's doing, and I'm well proud of him.
I think. Oh, sorry, Daphne, go on.
No, you go.
Oh, I was going to say, when I heard of this, I thought it was great that he thought about this. Absolutely fantastic. And it made me think to myself that he thought about it because he's obviously been there himself before. So it was relatable to him. And what I found quite ironic, again, is the people who are in power are people who have not suffered, people who have had an excellent education. They were your Eton people, Eton graduates.
They don't know what it's like to be at the bottom.
They were of the generation where they went to university and they didn't have to pay university fees. They went to university when university was free, basically. So these people are as I keep on saying, out of sight, out of mind. They didn't even think about it, that actually there are a lot of vulnerable kids. So the same way they keep on talking about, oh, vulnerable children with the, you know, not being able to go to school during this pandemic, is the same way they didn't think about actually those vulnerable children who haven't been to school for the last 3 months, who won't go to school again for the next 3 months. So meaning that 6 months out of their education, they will also now go hungry at the same time. Not one of them thought about it. And Boris Johnson even said that, oh, he hadn't even heard that this footballer guy, that he was doing this campaign. He hadn't even heard of it. That's supposedly what he said. And again, I feel like, as it's a good thing, I still feel like they're going to be penalised for it later on.
Of course, there's going to be some sort of backlash.
I don't know what's going to come. Either they will decide that they're going to scrap these free school meals in general when it comes to September, because they've given you free meals over summer holiday. Who knows? But right now with this country, I'm not putting anything past them.
Yeah.
Nothing whatsoever.
It's just such a shame though, because like you said, Georgina, like the people that are in power, they or actually let me not say in power, the people that are leading this country, they don't have the life
capacity
experience to really make a
Mm-hmm.
decision on behalf of the majority. And you're right, a lot of them,
because they cannot relate to the struggle if they don't know the struggle.
Yeah. And I guess for me, it's like, you know, people talk about diversity and inclusion. This is primarily why diversity and inclusion is so paramount, because you need enough people around the table to give you the perspective of all different types of people. So when you're now sitting there having the meeting, there's somebody that can pipe up and say, hold on, wait, the problem is it's not diverse enough. So now you're going to ask someone like Matt Hancock, oh, what about, who are the black ministers? And he wants to now bring up Asian people. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it, because from his perspective, oh, you know, diversity of thought is what we look at. And my workplace do the exact same thing. They talk about diversity of thought, and diversity of thought, of course, is excellent. It's paramount. You know, we need diversity of thought, but the only way you're going to get diversity of thought is if you're going to get diversity of experience as well. And you're going to include those people in the conversation when you have them, and not just say, oh, we're going to hire all these people from BAME backgrounds, whether we like that term or not, but we're not going to include them in the conversation, because like my workplace at a leadership level, you know, somebody might say, well, it's not that diverse. So, but they'll say, oh, but look, the numbers show that we've got a lot of people from that background. But it's like, these are not the people that are having the conversation. These are not the people that are leading. These are not the people that are influencers. Exactly. So therefore, the same thing at government level, unless you're bringing out these people to the table that have got these experiences, and not just saying all our MPs come from these prestigious backgrounds where they've not had to think about school meals as being something that could potentially hurt or hinder somebody's life progress, you're always going to fall short. And this is the problem with this is the problem with the world. And then I guess when it comes to money as well, it's so funny, because they're talking about, oh, you know, there's not enough money and we've got a budget. Do you know, like, there's literally economies, right, that are smaller than that of some of the billionaires in the world. I was looking at some of the economies of the growing economies in Africa, and I don't remember all the numbers, but there was economies that are less than Jeff Bezos's worth. So we know Jeff Bezos is worth 100 and something billion. There's economies in Africa that are less than 100 and something billion. So one person's worth is more than an entire country's economy. And we live in the world like that.
Lord of Jesus.
It's crazy. And then they'll be saying stuff like, just like you said, Danielle, if we all came together, nobody needs to be hungry. Nobody needs to suffer. But there's people in this world that are just like, oh no, you know. And then they'll say, oh, but the agenda is here. And they'll say, oh, but we care about this, that, and the other. No, you don't.
No, they don't. They care about themselves.
No, you don't. How can a whole country not be as much as worth, have as much worth as one person? Like,
it's mental. It's mental.
Well, I was saying that Jeff is going to be most likely the first trillionaire. What is that? How many zeros? How many zeros is trillion?
But then you hear of stories.
9 or 12?
12.
Maybe it's 12.
It's 12. Because billion is 9.
Oh yeah, billion is 9. Sorry, yeah. Trillion is 12, yeah.
But then you hear of stories about the famine in Yemen. Well, you don't even hear of it because it's like they're trying to cover it up. You see it on social media, what's going on in Yemen. By the end of this year, they may all be wiped out. That doesn't even make sense. Are they animals that they should be going extinct?
I don't know what the hell is going on in this world today.
2020
End of days,
was
fam.
just...
End of days.
Yep.
2020.
Like your sister said, mark of the beast.
2020.
And like, I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys, or maybe it was my brothers. You know how like some stores now are saying no cash, no goods. Like everything has to be on your card or your Apple Pay or whatever.
It started, mate. It's fine.
Money's soon going to be wiped out.
There's no such thing as money anymore.
Yeah.
Money, it's all electronic. And
the currency is going to be electronic.
Yeah.
Soon we will be beeping with our wrist.
In my car, it's not me.
And then like this is where cryptocurrencies come from. And you've got stuff like blockchain, which basically is like a electronic ledger. So the whole idea is that, like, of course, I don't believe in crime or fraud or whatever, but you know, obviously the way money works at this moment in time is that people can obviously get fake money by illegal means, clean the money, and obviously the economy, it goes into the economy, and you know, it becomes whatever. You know, there's still that element of our economies, but with blockchain and potentially cryptocurrencies, you know, you can't get money if you don't have that ledger. So it's like, unless you gave me the money and we can track that it was you that gave me the money and you got it from this person and you got it from this part, there's no way. And whilst it can be a really positive thing, it's just to me another means of control and spying on people to really make sure that your worth is your worth, and that those people that maybe want to come up through the ranks, whatever, you can't. You must stay low. You must do this. You must conform. You must do that, and it's just going to keep the rich rich and the poor poor, in my opinion. And yeah, the world's going to shit, mate.
When I think about it, guys, I literally feel like we're living in the real life Big Brother, the Big Brother house. Like, our every move is going to be monitored.
Thing, Black Mirror. It just feels like we're living in one big episode of Black Mirror.
I think that's going to be my new show to catch up on Netflix, because I have no idea what that is. But
you've never watched Black Mirror?
I've seen it, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, watch it from the beginning.
I've seen it on Netflix.
You'll have hours of fun. It's watch it in the daytime. I don't like watching the types of things in the night. It kind of messes with your mind.
I've only watched a few episodes, but all the episodes I've seen have always been something about how you kind of elements that control the mind and how the world can shift and change in almost just a minute and a moment. And
Jesus just needs
to you know the Black Mirror that they're talking about? Do you know what Black Mirror is? Do you know what the Black Mirror is? This.
Yeah.
This is the Black Mirror.
That's the Black Mirror, yeah. It's just
I'm
crazy.
looking at my phone with my side eye.
If your phone is the Black Mirror. It didn't stay black. You betrayed me. I went to do example. Instead of you to stay black, it came on.
Then put black on. Don't worry.
I was probably like, then it came on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine doesn't.
Yeah. It doesn't respect.
It's got a mind of its own.
Probably listen to me. Like, no.
Yeah, probably will. Trust me. When we finish off our call, best believe when you open up your internet,
when I go on Instagram, the first thing I'm going to see is Black Mirror.
You'll start seeing things popping up. But
yeah, Black Mirror pop-ups. Yeah.
Oh God.
Daphne, did you say your view on Marcus Rashford?
Sorry.
Marcus Rashford.
No, I was kind of. I was just saying that, like, yeah, he's done a great thing and everything. But the problem is, unless they get more people to have the conversations when it matters, it will always be a up situation where somebody has to kind of come in and campaign that say, no, we can't do this, and you know, because potentially luckily in this instance it was you know enough to ensure these kids got their meals. But think of the many instances before that, you know, these types of things have gone under the carpet. They've passed law, they've passed legislation, they've passed, you know, policy at the detriment of groups of people. So I just feel like unless they change something fundamentally in the way they run the country, and the people that are having the conversations, we're destined to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. So.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing, and I'm surprised actually. So I know we mentioned last time in our video about companies almost taking the initiative to say, actually, we're going to do this in terms of hiring this many, not BAME people, but Black people into these, you know, into the board and into like directors, etc. It's interesting that the government haven't mentioned anything about actually, we're now going to do we're now, when it's time to pick who's going to be in the cabinet, we're going to have a reshuffle so that we have a diverse amount of people. We're not giving you the shitty ministerial roles that nobody knows about. Minister of making sure that the plants are watered, or minister to make sure
what they called?
make sure that the wall is being painted. The real ones, a Black person, minister for foreign affairs,
Minister of Defense, like
for transport. It's not enough having just every person to be Asian. Because at the end of the day, I believe Asians are preferred above Black people.
Oh yeah,
so
they
they
are.
Of course
We are
they
agreeing
are.
with you. Yes, it's true.
Oh yeah, you agree with me, yeah. So for them to be like, oh no, we've got minorities in there. We've got Preeti Patel, we've got Sadiq Khan, and we've got what's the man called?
I'm just like, just sit down and be quiet.
Oh, the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
What's his name?
I can't remember.
I've forgotten his name. Anyway, this guy here. They're saying we've got 3 Asian people. They know what happens with Asian community, and all they can tell you is that, oh, I was referred as a Paki back in the days. What? Tell me about. Bring the people that were called niggers. Bring me the ones that were called niggers. Tell me the ones that were every single day. Because at the end of the day, you guys have got
Rishi Sunak.
That's his name. You guys, you've got corner shops, so you guys have been able to get money. They like to buy tandoori. They do. They like to buy tandooris, their own post offices. So they've got businesses. It's not. It's
mate. The national dish of Britain is a curry. I'm like, trust me. They like you guys. It's fine.
They like it, exactly. They like you guys. They like
at
you
least
guys
more than they like
personally.
us. Even if they don't like you, they like you more than they like us. That's for sure.
Yes, exactly. That's what I always say. They're always preferred above Black. But that's my personal opinion, because sometimes you even see the way how I'll never forget a time when I went out with my friends years ago. This must have been about 9 years ago. I went to the W. Funny enough, I hate the W. I went to the W hotel with my friends, and we had such a great night. We had such a fantastic night, and I'll never forget. There was this boy who was with his white friends, and he was Asian. And he walked past us, me and my friends, and he was just like, oh, I don't know, Black girls just don't do it for me at all. And then the white guy said, yeah, I know, they don't do it for me at all. And they said it with such disgust. And I turned around and I was just like, I remember saying to him, do you think you're one of them? And do you think you do it for us? Fool. Because it's almost like he thought that you're with the white guy.
He wanted to be accepted. He's so desperate. Yeah.
You're so desperate.
I think Asian communities have their own issues, because I think you're absolutely right in that statement, because one thing we do know is that they frown upon the darker Asians, and you know they're seen as less than. Everything. They're all their commercials, the actors and stuff.
They're all fairer.
They're all fairer, and you know they've got their own issues with colorism within their own community. So of course, for them, white is right, or light is white, or right, or whatever you want to call it. They definitely would aspire to be lighter if they can. And you know, I've heard my Asian friends admit that you know their parents would be very upset if they got with a Black guy. I've heard my Asian friends admit that their parents say to them, "Why are you going to get a tan? You don't want to be too dark." You know, they have their own issues. So there's none of that stuff even surprises me, because like at the time of the British Empire and the Raj, like the Indians and the Asians had their own issues with the British Empire and had their own relationship with the British Empire and whatever. So, but I definitely feel that a lot of Asians do this thing, which is they conform to it. Like they would rather be seen on the right side of the white people. I think a lot of their culture is just be quiet and do the right thing. I think that's a lot of them are just like, keep your head down, work hard and do the right thing, and they're not the ones to always
be accepted.
And be accepted, exactly, and not speak out against any injustices or whatever, which is quite unfortunate. But I think there was this comedian, did I talk to you guys about it? There's this comedian Minaj.
Oh no, he did talk to us about it.
Yeah, him.
That was calling it out.
Yeah.
But go on, still let listeners know.
I'm trying to even remember his name. But he was some Asian comedian, Indian comedian, and he spelled it out. He was like, you guys know that unless you're gonna his name Hassan Minaj, and he was like, basically it's on Instagram TV on his page, Hassan Minaj, and he basically called out the Asian community, and he goes, you guys are not like, you're not absolved of this. You at times you can be very complicit in racism. You need to call out this rubbish when it happens as well. And he was just basically like, don't pretend that behind closed doors that you're not calling them black in a negative way, and like, so, and he said it, and I was just like, because he was like, don't be now saying, oh, because they were like, when it comes to LeBron James and all the successful black people, you want to be like, yay, but when it comes down to then one of them coming into your house to marry your daughter, you're not about it.
You'd be like, hell no.
So he called it out, and I was just like, but they have their own issues, however.
And just speaking about, we're talking about the colorism thing. I didn't even know. Can you imagine? Johnson & Johnson released a statement to say they're now pulling all their whitening products off the shelves. I didn't even know Johnson & Johnson
had whitening products.
When did they do whitening products?
I didn't know they had whitening products.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it, boy. So it was on the news today to say,
big Johnson & Johnson, big company like
Johnson & Johnson. They made a statement today to say they are removing all of their skin whitening products. Wow. And I was just like, wow. Let me see if I can find it online. I was just like, wow. Johnson and Johnson.
Wow. So what?
Snow White cream.
I had no idea. Oh, so Johnson & Johnson own Neutrogena. I didn't even know that. That makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Johnson & Johnson to stop selling 2 lines of skin lightening products. It's crazy, right?
I didn't even know these things existed.
Popular in Asia, as Daphne just said.
That's mental.
Discontinue 2 lines of skin lightening products popular in Asia, making it one of the latest major companies to change business tactics, seen as racist amid the global debate over racial inequality. Crazy. And they're saying is in Asia, bruv. All of those stores are all in Peckham, in Camberwell, in Hounslow. Yeah. They are all there. I don't know why they're
everywhere across London.
They're a problem in this country, please.
It's sad. It's sad.
Very
sad. When I hear people like bleaching and stuff, it makes me so sad.
It's because they've been taught to hate their skin. That's why they've been
sad. Like, I literally was on Instagram today, and there's this Nigerian actress called Mercy Agbe.
Oh yeah.
And like, I didn't know anything about her. Like, I'd recognize her face, but I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And then, I was just looking at her page. She was promoting some creams, her line of creams. And literally, I swear to you, she was like, yeah, it says, oh, this will lighten you, brighten you, or whatever, this stuff. And I kid you not, I went into the comments because I was certain that people would be like, why are you doing this? How can I get this? How much is it? Is it good for dark-skinned people? Like, the comments, like, I was scrolling, like, surely. I didn't find one comment that was like somebody saying, this isn't right.
Like, disgusted about it.
They were all like, yep. And it's so sad. It breaks my heart because I'm like, our people just don't know, like, how
they just don't know
how beautiful. Like, your skin is actually made to protect you. Like, your skin is your skin is rich. Your skin is rich. Like, your skin is like, apparently, like, melanin is actually very expensive.
Yes.
Like, per gram or something. Like, when you look at the price of gold per gram and saffron per gram or whatever, actual melanin is very expensive.
Melanin is,
like, I'm just
that's
like
crazy.
And one of the weakest things, and one of the worst things that people can do is not to know their own power.
Yeah,
like, to not know, like, that's how you destroy a person. Tear down everything about them and make them hate it. Oh, then you've taken over. You've really taken over. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like,
and that's why with me, like, when it comes to Kiona as well, I just feel like representation matters. Like, really I had someone ask me, I think I mentioned this to you guys, oh, why do you like mainly only buy her books with Black people in it? Because representation matters, because
Yeah.
she needs to know her worth. She needs to, like, before she goes out and sees, oh, in the world it's just white.
You're
I want
absolutely
her
right.
to know, like, I want her to know that you are beautiful, you are strong, you are bold, you are anything that you want to be, and don't let anyone else tell you anything other than that. Like, and secondly, if I want my daughter to have all Black books, mind your business and face your front. Like, mind your business.
No, you said the right thing, because I was speaking to a friend of mine and she pretty much said exactly the same thing, because she's just so conscious of the fact that where her child is growing up is predominantly white, and the most people that she will encounter will be white. And she was just like, she's so conscious of the fact that when she's in her care right now and she has influence over her now, but when she then starts school, playgroup or whatever, there's going to be these people that will potentially not be saying these affirmative things to her, saying, oh, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, and she'll start to potentially slowly start to kind of think, maybe I'm not cute, maybe I'm not beautiful, whatever. So she's like, I'm instilling it in her now, so that when she does go out into the world, like, she already has that foundation. And I was watching today, you know that series on Netflix called Babies?
They got season 2.
Yeah. And they got season 2. So I was watching one of the episodes, and what they were trying to say was that, like, because of the way babies' brains work, they start to develop a preference for the people that they're around the most, and that they interact with the most and they see the most. Not because they're racist, but just because that's what your brain does, to tell you an instinct to recognize the thing that is familiar and trust it. So of course, if you're somebody, and this is part of the problem with the world, and I've seen it in children that haven't been exposed widely, if you're raising a child and they've only gone around white people their whole life, and you suddenly bring them into a diverse environment, that child is going to be like,
culture shock.
I don't like this. They won't go and they won't. But I feel like it's your job as a parent to expose your child as much as possible. And, whichever way you want to do that, it's fine. But I also think part of the challenge as parents of raising children who are Black, I'm going to just talk for Black people, and putting them out to the world is fundamentally white to a degree, at least from what they see and what they're familiar with. So now they're going out into a white world and they start to look, and if you don't have that influence on them, they will potentially see, oh, but this is what is good. This is what I'm familiar with. This is what is pure. This is what is good. So then the moment you bring them into non-white circles or situations, they will be like, oh, this is not good because that is not what I'm familiar with. These are not what my teachers look like. My teachers are all white and I like my teachers. So now, do you know what I mean? And I just think I've said this to you guys before, like, I can only imagine how hard it is as a parent to be thinking about all these different things. Like, what do you do? And like, I think, Georgina, you always say it all the time, it's only by the grace of God, because you can only do what you can do. But it's...
You know, I was saying the other day I was having a discussion and I was saying that as a parent, there's so many things, and I was speaking from the perspective of having a Black son. I was saying that everything is fighting against his identity. Everything is fighting against his culture, against his self-worth. Everything in this society fights against that and wants to make him feel opposite to what he is in terms of being proud of who he is. And just on the note of what Danielle was saying about, oh, you know, her child having Black books, blah blah blah. I was we had the TV on in the background, and to be honest with you, you know, you guys might say, George, where have you been? But I just paid attention to it as I walked into the living room. So I was listening to, it was the story of the ugly duckling. And I walked into the living room when I heard, I'm just ugly. I'm Black and ugly, and nobody wants to look like me, and nobody finds me attractive. And I was just like, what the heck is that? And obviously, maybe my body is more sensitive to hearing anything Black and ugly in one sentence, especially when it's consecutive words back to back. I'm like, what was that? So I turned around and looked at the TV, and I sat down, and I was just like, I sat down and I was looking at it, and it was the ugly duckling, and the ugly duckling wasn't Black. The ugly duckling was brown, but he described himself as being, I'm Black and ugly. And then
Was this on YouTube?
Then the ugly duckling. I've never seen the ugly duckling before. I've heard of it, but I've never actually sat down to understand it myself. Then the ugly duckling then went to the pond and looked at its reflection. And as it looked at its reflection, it saw a beautiful image. But the beautiful image, he was really a brown duck, but what he saw was a white swan. And when it wasn't yellow, it was white. It was white. It wasn't yellow. It was white. And he saw a white swan. And then when he looked around, he was just like, I'm not as pretty as all of the other ones. And he was the only brown one. He was the black sheep in the family, the brown duck in the family,
so sad.
basically. He wasn't black. He wasn't black. He was brown. And I thought to myself, these are the subconscious things, because Nathaniel's at an age where he picks up on everything now. And the things that I think he's not picking up on are the things that he would then begin to start telling me about afterwards. So although he might not say it straight away, those things are registering in his mind. And that was me just walking into the room and just hearing that. So, and that was me kind of just taking that in subconsciously in terms of what I heard, not even me paying attention to it. And only because of what I heard, as only when I sat down and paid attention to it. I don't know how many times that's been playing. Do you know what I'm saying? That could have been playing any amount of times. And I thought to myself, wow. And when he became pretty is when he was white, pure white, not yellow. He was pure white. That's when it was considered pretty. And then a white family came along and said, oh, look, there's a new duckling, and it's the prettiest of them all, because it was the newest white duckling, if that makes sense. So it was the one almost without blemish or without anything, because it was the one that had just turned white. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I was
so sad.
I was shocked, because I thought that's in a nursery rhyme, and the kids are from a very young age are taught, and that's why I said there's many things fighting against their identity. That's how the kids are trained in terms of what is shown on the TV. And then I saw another thing with Goldilocks. Goldilocks had the nice luscious locks in her hair. She was white. She had that long golden hair. The 3 bears that I saw were 3 brown, and they were ugly bears. They were brown, ugly bears. And they didn't look like bears. They looked more like fat humans, if that makes sense, with beards and like really scruffy hair. And I just thought to myself, these are the things that the kids are just taking in.
It's indoctrination. It's indoctrination.
I just thought to myself, it's crazy.
And part of you can't help but think, is this intentional?
It is intentional.
And then you're like,
it is intentional.
What is the agenda here?
Look, let me tell you how bad it is. You see Rice Krispies, yeah? It's got the 3 little men.
Snap, crackle, pop, yeah?
Yeah. Cocoa Pops is the chocolate Rice Krispies.
Yeah.
Cocoa Pop has the brown monkey. Why do we need a brown monkey? It's intentional. They are the same exact things, just different colours. You couldn't just put a black little boy or 3 black boys.
Do you know what someone said to me as well on this point? They said, can we begin a movement where we start to dissociate anything negative with black and everything positive with white in the way we speak? And it's so true. When we talk about, just in the language we use, everything that, even when we talk about ice on the road that is slippery, it's called black ice.
Black ice.
When you talk about somebody who's an outcast, they're the black sheep.
Black sheep.
He said, like everything negative is black, and everything's positive is white. And I know, like, it comes from a long time ago, like, but it's that it's really bad. Like in our whole language, in this English language, everything negative
associated with negativity.
Black. And then when you think, then I literally just thought about it just now, because I think, it is like in English or Latin derived languages, white languages, because when I think about my African language, we don't do that.
We don't do that.
We don't call black even black magic negative. White magic is great. It's a white witch. You know, she's a good, like, why?
It's like there was something in my workplace. We had a workshop about mental health and identifying mental health in the workplace, and they showed a video about the black dog. And I said, I cannot understand for the life of me why this dog is black. I don't relate to it in any kind of way. And I said,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I remember saying, how did this pass HR? How did this pass the board the person that sits on the board
Because they don't see a problem with it.
Because there's not enough
to say that
inclusion. There's not enough
acceptable.
diversity for somebody
If
to sit
someone
there and
was
say
there
this
to
is
call them
wrong.
out,
Yeah. But there's a
basically,
whole
then it would have never
one type
passed
of
them.
person sitting at those tables. So of course they're just like, yep, great. I think that's excellent.
And you know what? I remember at the time, my training consultant, I don't know whether because I was the black person in the room, she specifically asked me, oh, Georgie, what do you think about this? And I said, I can't relate to it at all. And she said, oh, why can't you relate? I said, number one, I'm not depressed. And I'm not a black dog, number one. So I can't relate to this at all. And she was just like, well, what do you mean? I said, why is the dog black? I'm confused. Why is
black
no,
dog?
the thing is, they called it the black dog, but the dog was brown. This is what's getting on my nerves. You're calling it a black dog, but the dog was brown. It was an oversized, black, angry, aggressive, sad, depressed dog. Why? These are all the connotations, and these are the adjectives that they use for us.
Wait,
why?
How are dogs even depressed? What is this?
It's in our all language, like, and literally I'm gonna actually take a time to think about my Ghanaian language, my Gan that I speak, and think about, is there that separation between white and black, white being positive
and we'll be searching for a very long time.
I'm pretty sure I'll be like, no, it doesn't exist.
We don't do that.
I don't.
We don't do that. We don't at all. We don't do it. We don't do it at all.
How sad.
It's sad. How sad, eh?
But you know what they say,
How
right?
sad.
The white man created race to separate us.
And religion, as they say.
They did. They stopped the slaves. They stopped the slaves from reading the full Bible. They made the slaves recite the part where it says you have to respect your master.
Yeah.
But they didn't allow the slaves to read that you are made in the image and the likeness of God. They didn't let the slaves know that greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. They didn't let the slave know that you should only serve Jesus Christ, the Lord and living Savior. They allowed them to read, you serve your master. If your master, you don't disobey your master. That's what they made them read. So they were very strategic as to what they allowed them to know, because they knew that knowledge is power, and they knew that if they had that knowledge, that they will rebel against them. They knew, and
that's why they didn't want them to learn how to read.
Yep.
And those that knew how to read had to keep it on the hush.
And that's the reason why I find the whole idea of what Juneteenth is, if that's how you pronounce it, even more mind-blowing. Because imagine those people, slavery was abolished at that time. And they said, and the way how they manipulated those people is that they made them remain slaves for 2 extra years. But they made it seem as if those people wanted to be slaves. How can you be so manipulative like that to say that they wanted to remain slaves? No, they didn't. It's because you lied to them and you didn't tell them that they were free.
They kept the news away from them.
That's why they spent those extra 2 years in bondage. That's why they done that, because you lied to them. You went to their countries and you took their gold. You took everything. You are the looters. That is looting.
That's true.
That is looting. I'm sorry.
It is.
I'm just like, unbelievable. You know, it's sad. It's sad.
Thanks for listening to another episode of And on that note, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, tell a friend to tell a friend, your aunties, your uncles, your sisters, and the whole shambaz. Thank you. Bye.